I never thought I'd be the guy telling this story. You hear about these things happening to other people, you see the stories online, but you never imagine it'll be you. My name is David, and this is the story of how I discovered my wife of 12 years was living a completely different life behind my back. It started on a Tuesday morning in March. I remember because it was our anniversary week, and I'd been planning something special. Sarah and I had been together since college. We met in a literature class, bonded over our love of classic novels, and built what I thought was an unshakable foundation. We had 2 kids, Emma, who was 9, and Jake, who was 7. We lived in a decent house in the suburbs, had steady jobs, took family vacations every summer. From the outside, we were the picture of suburban success. That Tuesday, I left for work like any other day. I was a project manager at a tech company, usually out of the house by 7:30. Sarah worked part-time as a dental hygienist, her schedule flexible enough to handle school pickups and afternoon activities. We'd fallen into a comfortable routine over the years, maybe too comfortable. I kissed her goodbye that morning, told her I loved her, and headed out the door without a clue that my entire world was about to collapse. Around 10 that morning, I realized I'd forgotten an important USB drive on my desk at home. It had a presentation I needed for an 11:30 meeting. I tried calling Sarah to ask her to bring it, but she didn't answer. I called twice more, nothing. I figured she was in the shower, or maybe her phone was on silent, so I decided to just drive home quickly and grab it myself. The office was only 15 minutes from our house. I could make it there and back with time to spare. I pulled into our driveway at 10:20. Sarah's car was there, which I expected. What I didn't expect was the unfamiliar black BMW parked on the street right in front of our house. I didn't think much of it initially. Could have been a neighbor's guest, a delivery person, anyone really. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside, calling out for Sarah to let her know I was home. No answer. The house had that strange quality of feeling occupied but silent, like someone was holding their breath. I walked through the living room toward my home office, and that's when I heard it. A sound coming from upstairs, from our bedroom. It was muffled, but unmistakable. Laughter. Sarah's laughter, mixed with a deeper voice I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped. Every nerve in my body told me to turn around and leave, but my feet carried me toward the stairs anyway. Each step felt like walking through concrete. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. I reached the top of the stairs and stood outside our bedroom door. It was slightly ajar. Through the gap, I could see movement, shadows shifting across the wall. I heard Sarah's voice, soft and intimate in a way I hadn't heard directed at me in months, maybe years. She was saying something I couldn't quite make out, followed by more laughter. The man's voice responded, deep and comfortable, like this wasn't the first time he'd been in my bedroom, in my house, in my life. I pushed the door open. The scene that greeted me will be burned into my memory until the day I die. Sarah was in our bed where we'd conceived our children, where we'd spent thousands of nights together. She wasn't alone. The man with her was younger than me, maybe early 30s, athletic build, still partially dressed. They both froze when they saw me standing there. Sarah's face went from relaxed and happy to pure terror in an instant. She grabbed the sheet, pulled it up, and just stared at me with her mouth open, unable to form words. I don't remember what I said first. I think I just stood there, my brain trying to process what my eyes were seeing. The man started scrambling for his clothes, muttering apologies, clearly wanting to be anywhere but there. Sarah was crying, saying my name over and over. David, David, please, David. But I couldn't hear her properly. Everything sounded distant and underwater. I backed out of the room, down the stairs, and out the front door. I sat in my car in our driveway for I don't know how long, just staring at nothing. Sarah came running out eventually, wearing a robe, tears streaming down her face. She knocked on my car window, begging me to let her explain. The man had already left, his BMW gone from the street. I rolled down the window and asked her one question. How long? She hesitated, which told me everything. 6 months, she finally whispered. 6 months. Half a year of lies, of kissing me goodbye and hello, of family dinners and bedtime stories with our kids, all while she was sleeping with someone else. His name was Marcus. He was a pharmaceutical sales rep who visited her dental office regularly. They'd started talking, became friends, and then it became more. She fed me the standard lines about it, meaning nothing. About me neglecting her. About how the marriage had become routine and she'd felt invisible. She said Marcus made her feel young again, desired, exciting, as if that somehow justified destroying our family. I asked if she loved him. She said she didn't know. That answer somehow hurt worse than a simple yes would have. I drove to a hotel that afternoon, called my boss and told him I had a family emergency, which wasn't a lie. I spent the rest of the day in that sterile hotel room, alternating between rage and devastation. I wanted to punch holes in walls, scream until my throat was raw, and simultaneously curl up and cease to exist. My phone kept buzzing with calls and texts from Sarah. "I'm so sorry. Please come home. We can fix this. I love you. The kids need you." Each message felt like another knife, twisting in my chest. That night, I started thinking more clearly. I couldn't just hide in a hotel room. I had kids who needed me. A life that needed sorting out, decisions that had to be made. I called my brother, told him everything. He listened without interrupting, then told me to get a lawyer immediately, document everything, and protect myself. He offered to let me stay with him, which I accepted. At least I wouldn't have to face Sarah until I was ready. The next few days were a blur of practical necessities. I consulted with a divorce attorney who specialized in infidelity cases. She was professional but compassionate, explaining my options, the process ahead, what to expect. I opened a separate bank account and transferred half our savings. I started documenting everything, dates, times, the evidence I had. I took screenshots of texts I'd previously ignored that now made perfect sense, messages where Sarah said she was going to the gym or out with girlfriends at times that now seemed suspicious. I went back to the house when I knew Sarah would be at work to gather my things. Walking through those rooms felt surreal. Everything looked the same but meant something completely different now. I noticed things I'd been blind to before. A new perfume on her dresser I'd never seen her wear around me. Receipts in her car from restaurants we'd never been to together. Gym membership charges even though she always complained about being too tired to work out. The signs had been there. I'd just been too trusting or too oblivious to see them. The hardest part was telling the kids Sarah and I agreed to do it together, to present a united front even though I could barely stand to be in the same room with her. We sat Emma and Jake down on the couch, two confused faces looking up at us. We told them that Mommy and Daddy were going to live in different houses for a while, that sometimes grown-ups need space, that it had nothing to do with them, and we both loved them very much. Emma, who was older and more perceptive, asked if we were getting divorced. I couldn't lie to her. I said we were figuring things out. She started crying. Jake didn't fully understand, but started crying because his sister was crying. It was the worst moment of my life, worse even than catching Sarah in bed with Marcus. Over the following weeks, more details emerged. Sarah initially claimed it was just 6 months, but I discovered evidence suggesting it had been longer. Text messages I recovered from phone records dated back almost a year. She'd been deleting conversations, covering her tracks, living this double life with practiced ease. I wondered how many times she'd lied directly to my face, how many business trips or girls' nights out had actually been rendezvous with Marcus. How many times had she come home from being with him and climbed into bed next to me, knowing exactly what she'd done? I hired a private investigator to build a stronger case for the divorce. He followed Sarah for 2 weeks and confirmed she was still seeing Marcus despite claiming she'd ended it. They met at his apartment 3 times in 1 week alone. The investigator got photos of them together, intimate and carefree, looking exactly like the happy couple Sarah and I used to be. Those photos were devastating, but also clarifying. They removed any lingering doubt I had about ending the marriage. This wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. This was a choice she kept making. Friends started taking sides, which added another layer of pain to the situation. Some of our mutual friends believed Sarah's version of events, where I'd been an absent husband who drove her into another man's arms. Others saw through her excuses and supported me. I lost several friendships in the divorce, people I'd known for years who decided Sarah's narrative was easier to accept. But I also discovered who my real friends were. The ones who showed up at my brother's place with beer and pizza, who let me vent for hours, who checked in on me when I went radio silent for too long. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Sarah wanted to reconcile, kept saying she'd made a mistake and would do anything to fix it. But whenever I asked her direct questions, her answers revealed the depth of her betrayal. Had Marcus been in our house before? Yes, multiple times when I was at work and the kids were at school. Had she taken him places that were meaningful to us? Yes, including the restaurant where I'd proposed. Did our friends know? Some of them suspected, none of them told me. Each answer made reconciliation more impossible. The financial aspect of divorce added stress to the emotional trauma. Sarah wanted to keep the house despite contributing less to the mortgage over the years. She wanted primary custody of the kids, even though her affair had destabilized their lives. She wanted alimony, even though she'd been the one who destroyed the marriage. My attorney fought hard for me, arguing that infidelity should impact the settlement, though the laws in our state made that complicated. We went back and forth for months, each negotiation session draining my bank account and my spirit. During this time, I learned more about Marcus than I ever wanted to know. He was 32, never married, no kids. He worked in sales, was apparently charming and successful. According to Sarah, he'd pursued her aggressively, made her feel special, paid attention to her in ways I supposedly hadn't. She painted him as the catalyst, but I knew it took two people to make those choices. She could have shut him down, told me she was feeling neglected, suggested marriage counseling. Instead, she chose deception. 5 months after that Tuesday morning, Sarah showed up at my brother's place, unannounced. She looked terrible, like she hadn't slept in days. She said Marcus had ended things with her. Apparently, once the affair wasn't exciting and forbidden anymore, once it became complicated with divorce proceedings and custody battles, he'd lost interest. She'd left her marriage for him, and he dumped her. She came to me broken and apologetic, saying she'd made the worst mistake of her life and begging for another chance. She said she finally understood what she'd lost, that I was the good man she should have appreciated all along, that she wanted to rebuild our family. I'd fantasized about this moment during the darkest nights, imagined her realizing what she'd thrown away, coming back desperate and regretful. In those fantasies, I'd had cutting words ready, perfect rejections that would make her feel a fraction of the pain she'd caused me. But standing there, looking at her tear-stained face, I just felt tired. I told her it was too late. That she hadn't just broken my trust, she'd shattered it into so many pieces I couldn't imagine ever putting it back together. That I deserved someone who wouldn't need to lose me to appreciate me. That our kids deserved to see their father in a relationship built on honesty and respect, even if that meant separate homes. The divorce was finalized 8 months after I walked in on Sarah and Marcus. I got shared custody of the kids, 50-50 split. The house had to be sold, and assets divided. Neither of us got everything we wanted, but I got my freedom and my self-respect. Sarah moved into an apartment across town. I eventually found a small house with a yard where Emma and Jake could play, close enough to their school that the transition wouldn't be too disruptive. The first few months of officially being divorced and co-parenting were awkward and painful. Handoffs were tense. Sarah would try to make small talk, ask how I was doing, hint at regret and reconciliation. I kept things polite but distant, focused on the kids and nothing else. Emma struggled with the changes, acting out at school and becoming withdrawn at home. Jake adapted more easily, but had nightmares. I got them both into therapy, which helped, slowly, painfully. We found our new normal. About a year after the divorce, I started dating again. It felt strange and scary, carrying all this baggage into new connections. I was hypervigilant about red flags, probably to an unhealthy degree. Trust didn't come easily anymore. I'd find myself checking phones, questioning stories, looking for signs of deception even when there were none. I went to therapy myself to work through the trauma and trust issues. My therapist helped me understand that Sarah's betrayal was about her character, not my worth. That not every woman would make those choices. That I could heal and build something healthy again. I met someone named Rachel about 18 months post-divorce. She was patient with my baggage, understanding about my hesitations. She'd been through her own difficult divorce, so she got it. We took things slowly, building friendship first, letting trust develop naturally. The kids met her eventually and liked her, which felt like a miracle. She didn't try to replace their mother or insert herself where she didn't belong. She was just Rachel, kind and genuine, someone who made me laugh again and remember what healthy love looked like. Sarah didn't handle me moving on well. She'd apparently held on to hope that we'd eventually reconcile, that I'd forgive her once enough time passed. Seeing me happy with someone else triggered her. She started creating problems with custody exchanges, questioning my choices, making snide comments about Rachel around the kids. My attorney had to send her a formal letter reminding her of our custody agreement and warning against parental alienation. It was exhausting, but I refused to engage with her drama. I focused on my kids, my healing, and building my new life. Looking back now, 3 years after that Tuesday morning that changed everything, I have complicated feelings. Part of me will always grieve the life I thought I had. The family unit that existed before betrayal shattered it. I grieve for my kids, who deserved better than having their world split in two. I occasionally still get angry. Usually late at night when memories ambush me. I think about all the lies, all the times she looked me in the eye and deceived me, and rage bubbles up fresh and hot. But mostly, I feel relief. Relief that I'm no longer living a lie. Relief that I found out when I did rather than wasting more years. Relief that I get to build something authentic now, with someone who values honesty and commitment. Sarah did me a favor in the cruelest possible way. She freed me from a marriage that was already broken. I just hadn't realized it yet. She showed me I was stronger than I thought, that I could survive devastation and rebuild. She taught me what I absolutely won't tolerate and what I truly deserve. The kids are doing well now. Emma is 12 and thriving, having worked through her feelings about the divorce with her therapist. She has a good relationship with both Sarah and me, navigating 2 homes with resilience that amazes me. Jake is 10 and mostly carefree, adapted to the routine of switching houses every week. They like Rachel, and she's wonderful with them, never overstepping, but always supportive. We're creating new traditions, new memories that aren't tainted by lies. I still see Sarah regularly at school events, sports games, parent-teacher conferences. We're civil, cordial even, focused on co-parenting effectively. She seems lonely, I think, though I don't ask and don't particularly care. She made her choices. Marcus wasn't her last relationship, but none have worked out long-term. I don't take pleasure in that, but I don't feel bad about it either. She's living with the consequences of her actions, just like I lived with them in my own way. Sometimes people ask if I ever considered reconciliation, especially after Marcus left her and she came begging back. The answer is simple. No. Not seriously. You can't unring that bell. Once trust is broken so completely, so deliberately, over such an extended period, there's no going back. It wasn't just the physical betrayal. It was the lies, the calculated deception, the double life. It was her choosing him repeatedly while pretending to choose me. It was the gaslighting when I'd expressed concerns about her behavior months before I caught them. It was everything. Would I change what happened if I could? It's a question I've asked myself countless times. The honest answer is complicated. I wish my kids didn't have to go through divorce. I wish I hadn't lost years of my life to someone who didn't value me or our vows. I wish I hadn't experienced that particular flavor of heartbreak and humiliation. But I also wouldn't have met Rachel. I wouldn't have done the personal growth work that made me a better father and partner. I wouldn't have learned these hard lessons about trust, boundaries, and self-worth. Sometimes, terrible things lead to necessary changes. For anyone going through something similar, here's what I learned. First, it's not your fault. Cheaters cheat because of their own deficiencies, not yours. You could be the perfect partner and they'd still make those choices if that's who they are. Second, trust your gut. Those instincts that something's wrong are usually right. I ignored mine for too long. Third, document everything. Get a good attorney. Protect yourself legally and financially. Fourth, lean on your support system. Let people help you. Don't isolate yourself in shame. Fifth, go to therapy. Process the trauma. Don't carry it into future relationships. Sixth, prioritize your kids, if you have them. They're innocent victims in this and need stability and reassurance. Seventh, don't rush into reconciliation out of fear or comfort. Really examine whether the relationship is salvageable and whether you even want to salvage it. And finally, know that you'll survive this. It doesn't feel like it in the immediate aftermath. Those first days, weeks, months feel impossible. You'll cry more than you thought possible. You'll rage and question and bargain and despair. But slowly, incrementally, you'll start healing. You'll have moments where you forget to be sad, then hours, then days. You'll laugh again, genuinely. You'll feel attraction again, hope again. You'll rebuild your life into something different, but potentially better. The betrayal becomes part of your story, but not the whole story. You become someone who survived, who chose themselves, who refused to accept crumbs when they deserve the whole feast. I never wanted to be the guy with a cheating wife story. I never wanted my kids to be children of divorce. I never wanted to learn these lessons or develop this thick skin. But here I am, 3 years later, genuinely happy in ways I wasn't even in the good parts of my marriage with Sarah. Rachel and I are talking about moving in together. The kids are excited about potentially getting a dog in the new place. I got a promotion at work. Life is full and real and honest. That Tuesday morning in March feels like a lifetime ago now. The man I was then, the one who kissed his wife goodbye with complete trust, feels like a stranger. I'm different now, changed fundamentally by what happened. Some of those changes are unfortunate, like being slower to trust and quicker to question. But others are positive. I value honesty more fiercely. I appreciate genuine connection more deeply. I don't take love for granted. I'm more present with my kids, more intentional about building the life I want, rather than passively accepting what comes. So that's my story. A story of how a forgotten USB drive led to discovering my wife's affair, which led to the end of my marriage, which led to the hardest period of my life, which eventually led to healing and new beginnings. It's not the story I wanted to tell, but it's mine. And somehow, improbably, I'm okay with that now. More than okay, actually. I'm grateful for where I ended up, even if getting here required going through hell first. Life has a strange way of working out, not always how you planned, but sometimes better than you could have imagined once you're brave enough to let go of what's destroying you and reach for something better.